So I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wait a minute, Grant. Seriously, this thing can only handle 5 invoices, and the best thing you can do is basically slap an error message at the end of it, and that's it. And it is okay if you're feeling somewhat underwhelmed. I would say that probably an array is probably good if you know how many elements that you actually have coming in, because it's going to be quicker, right? But we're going to use another collection object, and that's called a list. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to rewrite some key elements of this actual solution file so that it's actually using a list now and not a not an array. So I tell you what, the first thing I'm going to do, it's going to be very trivial, but I'm going to change this thing to the word list. Well, that is just a variable, but that has now caused all sorts of goofy crap happening inside of my code now, you'll notice. And that's good. That's good, right? So I want to keep track of some of that. Now, this invoice total is not an array. This is what makes it an array, the square braces, I should say. What makes it, I'm going to make it a list. I'm going to go list. And then I have to say what kind of stuff is in the list, and what's in the list are decimals. Decimal, not decimal. Decimals are in the list, but the data type is decimal. All right. Now I can't, now I've made this thing an actual list, I can't shove into it a new decimal, obviously, a new decimal array. But what I can do is shove into that list a new list of decimal values. All right, so now this guy's doing pretty good, and so he's ready. As I move on down the list here, the next thing that's going to change is this. Oh, by the way, one other thing, lists don't use an index, so we're going to knock that out. That's also going to cause some terror and wailing of teeth down here as soon as this guy figures out he doesn't exist. All right, so anyway, so now the next step is we've got ourselves our list. How do you get stuff into that list? So let's, I'm sorry, 52 is gone. We don't need 52 anymore, but we're going to, sorry, what am I doing? What am I doing, Grant? I'm going to change this completely. First of all, it's going to be the list. Can't remember. Well, I definitely did spell like that. Did I use a capital L like you should have? Yes, it did. All right, good deal. List. That's an object. And guess what you can do for objects to find out stuff it can do? You can hit your period. And I would have thought more stuff would have popped up there, but no, nothing popped up. Is that not? Okay, you know what? You know what? That's fine. I think what's going on here is just mad at me for that. So you totals list dot, yeah, that's what I was looking for. So there's some stuff in here it can do, and one of those things you can do, one of the more common things to do is to add an element. So I'm going to add, and what I'm going to add, I'm going to add the invoice total. So that line above is gone. So an invoice total list, one of the methods there is to simply add that element to the list. So now that's how we're going to accumulate. And then as far as how we're going to actually spit this thing out, we're not using an array anymore. So I'm going to comment that out and return to it later. But the for each is going to work hauntingly similar. We're still expecting a decimal thing to come out of that list. So that part remains the same. The only thing that changes is that this variable name is going to become list. Right. So I'll take it a second to figure out that we're good. Other than that, I think everything is the same. Right. Everything's the same. Yep. Everything's the same. So this thing should work just fine. Let's go ahead and run it. And that's build errors. Well, it didn't run just fine, did it? Well, that's fine. That's fine then. Let's go and have a look at the build errors. Build the solution. Give me the error. Yeah. Well, I would have hoped you would have helped me out a little bit more with that. So you're mad up here somewhere. All right. What are you mad at for that? That looks pretty reasonable to me. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to C#. All right. Do I want to try and explain what just happened with that? First of all, before I even try to explain it, let's make sure that that's actually the only thing that's a problem. Okay, so there you go. So I'm going to go, oh, whoa, hey, where'd you go? I'm going to go 100. I'm going to go 200. I'm going to go 300. I'm going to hit the exit button. And there they all there. So it definitely works. So in the Python world, you may have seen me do stuff like this, where I basically would say something to the effect of, using my fabulous Oreo, who's behind me here. Oreo, I would have gone, if I had a cat object, I would have said cat Oreo. That just creates an object called it creates a cat object named Oreo. And then I would have said is assigned cat, and I would have done that. That's sort of like a constructor. Actually, I would have gone new, sorry, new cat. I can't actually remember if Python uses new or not, but anyway, regardless of the whole new thing, basically what I'm saying is that I would like you to create this object. So this little parentheses there is an actual constructor. That's what's going on there. It looks a little bit weird because we've got this extra bit of the pointy braces there, but anyway, so if you don't remember any of this or whatever, you might want to look some of this up. But basically, cat is the name of an object. Oreo is an instance of an object that is cat. At this point, all we've got is an object called Oreo that is a cat. We've got sort of it defined, I should say. This actually creates, it constructs a cat and then assigns it to Oreo. So in this case, what's going on here is that this is going to kind of create a variable, I guess, called invoice total list. And here we're going to, what is it going to be? It's going to be a new constructed list. That's what that is. All right. Surprise, extra bonus stuff for syntax. Anyway, so now we scroll on down to this. And the only other thing to do is, well, how do you sort these marvelous things? Well, again, it's a bit different than what we saw already, but just like invoice total list can add things to it, so list, just like it can add things to it, there's also a sort option as well. So I can basically say, hey, please sort that list. And so, right, we're good. So now I'm going to run it. I'm going to put them in reverse order like I did before. 300, 200, every time. 100. I'm going to exit. And there's my list. And I'm sure this is obvious to all of you, but I'll just do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's a whole bunch of them, and each one of them has been added to the list. All right, so cool. That's a pretty rough crack at this, but in the next exercise, I think it gets a little bit more advanced.